Hi viewers and students, my name is Eugene and I'm currently a teacher and for animation and graphic design courses here at a local university in Malaysia. This video is going to be about selection tools in Photoshop. Alright, now what to use selection tools for? Basically to, well, select things, and there are multiple ways you can do that through all these different tools in Photoshop. Now, if you ask, I often get this from students, Mr. Eugene, what is the fastest way, or which tool is most effective at selecting things? It is not a possible question for me to answer because it all depends on the image and what you're going to select. So it really does depend on that. For example, so we're going to go through, before we start, we're going to go through this list, all right, to make it in a more organized fashion. So the first thing we are going to do is use a shape selection. Okay, so let's just get these out of the way. And I have an image here for which I will use an image that I painted some time ago, of which I will use to demonstrate this. So with selection tools, it's all you can find them on the toolbar over here on your left. Now we have shape selections, which include a rectangular marquee tool, an elliptical marquee tool, single row, and single column. All right, the one I use most are these two on top, uh, of which I will demonstrate. This one I rarely use it. I don't even know what it's for, but it's kind of single row, like it selects a single long pixel. Probably it's good for drawing like lines and grids that you want, instead of trying to use a rectangular marquee and draw a straight line. I think that eases it. Okay, so now a rectangular marquee tool basically makes a square, any selection that is a square. So I have this image here. Let's say I want to select this house, and all I do is click and drag, and I've selected the area I want. I'll probably just move the composition around. After creating the square, I can Control C, Control V, and once I've done that, I've copied this area, right? And if, let's say, let's throw that area, that image away. Let's say I want to retain a perfect square. Just now was kind of rectangular. If I want to retain a perfect square, I hold down my Shift key and drag that out. And you notice that the square I make is a perfect square, great for if you want to capture something for your Instagram post or something like that. This is great. Um, what else? Okay, now let's say you want to capture this image as well as some areas on the top here, meaning to say you want to capture this as well as this area simultaneously. You want to add to the selection. You hold down your Shift key, drag out another square. Oops, sorry. Drag out another square, and you would have two areas selected. So if you copy and paste, you would have these two. Okay, so you can do it as many times as you want. You can select this, hold on. I'm holding down my Shift key all the while, yeah, as I'm making these squares. So you can select all of this, copy, paste, and all of that will be selected. Okay, now you have the other tool, which is an elliptical marquee. So ellipses is basically circle. If I hold down my Shift key, you get a perfect circle. If you don't, you get an oval. All right, so it's pretty straightforward. Let's try it out. Hold down my Shift key. Let's try and put it at the corner, copy, paste. There you go. It's a circle, right? So that's how you use a shape tool, all right, to select. Now the next one, let's flatten all of this so that this becomes a list. Lasso tool. All right, where is the lasso tool? it is right here, right underneath the marquee group. You have the Lasso Tool. The first tool is just called the Lasso Tool, all right? I think you know where the word lasso comes from. Lasso as in, you know, the cowboys, they actually make a lasso or a rope to lasso animals, to catch animals. So it's the same thing. You're trying to capture an area of an image. Now, a lasso tool um, is more organic in the sense that you actually, the way you use this lasso tool and the other one which comes with it on the bottom, polygonal lasso tool, is slightly different in the way you handle your pen tablet. Now with the lasso tool, for example, I want to capture or I want to select this tree. All right, if I want to capture this tree, I would have to go around it like that. And all the while when I start and once I touch the surface of my tablet, and as I go around it, I do not lift off my pen. I will actually have to keep a very steady hand and go around the image like that. And once, let's say I am done, I'm just going to capture the top part and release. Oops, I'm sorry. You cannot put the feather at 250. You have to put it at 0. Let's try and do that again very quickly. I'll show you what that feature does, the feather feature does in a short while. Okay, so I've selected this area, copy, paste, and you notice that I've selected it. And it has a very organic line. It's good for when you want to capture, for example, weird shapes. All right. Now, what the polygonal lasso tool does is very different. The way you use it, you kind of go, just now when I used the first lasso tool, you have to click and drag your pen along the surface of your tablet. Whereas for the polygonal lasso tool, to select something like this, you actually have to tap, tap, tap. It creates a shape in a series of straight lines. That's what it does. That's why it's called the polygonal lasso tool. It's good for very geometric, polygonal shapes, things with straight angles and sharp angles or long straight lines. So if I copy and paste this, you will notice that, oops, sorry. I copied and pasted on the wrong layer, sorry. Let's go back here and copy this layer. Okay, copy, paste. All right, so yeah. So you notice that you get that kind of edge. So it's great for if let's say you want to select something like this house, it is great for you to use this lasso tool. All right, where because you notice that the house is made out of a lot of straight lines. So yeah, it's great if you would use this tool. I would not, for the life of me, use the first lasso tool to select this house. It would be much faster to select this house with a straight tool. Yeah, the polygonal lasso tool. Now the next tool is kind of peculiar. It's called a magnetic lasso tool, which I rarely use, but like I said, which tool to use depends on the image you're trying to select. All right. Say for instance, you would like to select this branch. All right, this branch here. All right, what a magnetic lasso tool is, it selects similar pixels to the one you started with, or the similar pixels around it. It makes a distinction between color and also the form. The color, the value, and also the shape of the object. So if I click here, you notice that okay, the way you use it is you don't drag it, you kind of click and you hover your pen over the area following the line, and you notice that it's kind of like a smart selection tool where it will lay down the selection lines over the pixels that is similar to it. all right? So it makes a distinction of between the red and the green. So it's kind of detecting along the way where the outline is. So yeah, basically what this tool is trying to do is kind of gradually you have to go pretty slow. If you go too fast, it won't read very well. Well, for something like this is easy for it to read because the green and the red is very different. So it's easy for it to kind of pick up an outline. Yeah, so let's just try and just go around it again and then close it. All right, so it's easy for it to pick the outline because the colors are very different. But if you want to do, say, okay, something like this, right? If you want to go, you see it crosses over the brown line, so it doesn't have a very clean kind of selection. So yeah, this is an interesting tool to use. It really, I rarely use it, to be honest. I find that I can't have much control over it, and it's very slow because it requires very controlled movements. So, but it's good to know what it can do because you never know what situation might arise that you need this to trace an outline. But I feel that there's a better tool for it than this one, which we will get to next. Oh, before we proceed, I wanted to tell you about what the feather option does, right? So now let's go back to the polygonal lasso tool, which we used for the house just now. So let's just say I want to select the roof, right? Previously, usually as a default, this word here, feather, at 0 pixels, that would be the default, 0 pixels. So what does it mean when you select 0 pixels? It means that when you select, for example, the roof of this house, you copy and paste it, you will notice that you would select a very nice crisp line and there is no feathering at all. If you know what the word feather means in Photoshop, it means to blur or to kind of give that kind of transitional effect. It looks like a blur, all right? So let me demonstrate it by showing it to you now by increasing the feather of my selection to, let's say, let's go with 20 pixels now, all right? So we select this roof again. All right, remember that the first one, when we selected at 0 pixels, it has a nice crisp outline. So you can see the effect even when I just close my selection. You notice, wait a minute, my selection is not the shape I want. It kind of rounded off. That's because it is showing you the effect of the feather. It will even become more obvious when you copy and paste your selection. Now you notice that it is all blurred around because what it does, it goes 20 pixels over and under. So it selects the area and it blurs off the selection. All right, you might wonder, like, why would I want to do a selection like this? When would I ever use it? So let's just say in this image that I've painted, right? And I want just this bottom area here to be blurred out, or probably not blurred out, probably darkened. Yeah, I want the bottom area of my painting to be darkened. I will go and use my lasso tool because I want a very nice smooth shape. And I'm going to increase the feather to say 120 pixels. And then I'm going to select this bottom area here very quickly, sorry. Select it on the bottom here. And you notice that the shape has rounded off just like what it did when I selected the house, right? And I'm going to go to brightness and contrast and lower the brightness, okay? And probably decrease the contrast, lower the brightness some more, press OK. And now you notice that once I've done that, I don't get a very clear distinction between the area that I've selected and the ones that I did not. You see the effect of the darkening of the area, the brightness and contrast that I've applied, it's not obvious. right? Whereas if I did not use the feather tool, let's revert back, okay? If I did not use the feather tool, let's say my feather was at 0%, 0 pixels, and I selected this area, okay? You see the area I selected is still very sharp. It's not, the edges of my selection are not rounded off. I go to adjustment, brightness and contrast. You'll notice that, oh wow, it has such a crisp line, and that's not what I want. All right, so now you see why I need this selection, this feather, and for why there's this feather selection here for. Okay, now, so we are done with lasso tools. All right. By the way, let's just revert back to this image. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is use the wand tool. So the third item of which you use your selection is with the wand tool. I will just show you this magic wand tool because it's my all-time favorite. And to demonstrate this, I'm going to use this image and another image I've prepared. Okay, what the magic wand does, it basically selects, you see it's a wand, and wherever you click on, it will read that pixel and select pixels that are similar to it. And you can adjust how much of the similarity it will pick up from the rest of the pixels. So for example, very simply, this top of the area of the tree here, yeah, you'll notice that there's a lot of green here, which is very much likely the same green color. And then it starts to have these dark green areas here. All right, so my tolerance right now, that's where you adjust the level of this, the power or rather of this magic wand. Right now it's at 20. So if I select this, oops, sorry, I have to go to the right layer, Control D. If I select this, you see where I tapped was a lime green color, and it selected all of the areas that had the same lime green, and it stopped halfway. Because right now, at this point, it kind of detected, oh, there are some green, darker greens here, which is not similar to this green, so I will not select it. And you can see that it stopped short right at the branches, which is purple, which is completely different color. So it won't select those areas. So this magic wand tool is great for when you're selecting, for example, large areas that you want to remove or change the color of. Yeah, so a great way to show you the concept of how you use this selection is, I've got this image here which has got a green background and some blue-green boxes and a very red box here. All right, so the idea of tolerance is, just think, for instance, if your tolerance number is low, just think of it as a person, right? If you have a low tolerance to other people, for example, if you put your tolerance at 1, it means that you have only that one friend that you will become friends with, and when you select, you only select that one person. So if I put it at 1 and I click, say, the green here, it will only select the pixels which are that exact green. It will not, the moment your green is slightly off, you see the difference between this green here and this green here is probably so slight, but yet the tolerance of the magic wand that you're using right now is so low because it's at 1 that it won't even select something that is slightly a darker version of it. But if you increase it to, say, 50, let's see what happens when you click on this area. So it starts to select more areas of green, but it stops here because it probably deems this green a little bit too dark for its group. Now, however, does it mean that I can't select this green at all? No, not necessarily. All you need to do, let's say it selects an area here, and you want to kind of select the area as well, just hold down your shift key and click on that area, and it would have selected that area as well. All right, now I want to select the green, the lime green boxes as well. How do I do that? You have to go one by one. It will not select all the other lime green boxes together. Yeah, so it's also quite space specific. Okay. Now let's increase the tolerance now to, let's say, 80 and see if it increases. It still does not. Let's increase it to 120 and let's click on the green. So now when you look at this, it has now selected the green area and the lighter blue boxes because it found that it was quite similar to this green, the value of it. Let's increase it to 150 and see, does it select, 150. And let's just see if it selects other colors. Not yet. It still selects only those colors. Let's try 180. All right. Tolerance 180. Pick the green. Now you notice that it starts picking up the blue, the darker blue as well. It is what it does. I think what it does is actually calculate how close the value of the object or the image is. So like this lime green is probably of a higher value, so it will not select that yet. I think the last box that would probably be selected would be that green. Let's bump this up to 200 and see if it selects the lime green. Yeah. So at 200 tolerance, it selects all these cool colored boxes and only this red color is left unselected. Okay, so I hope you understand what this magic wand does. So for example, if you want to, you have a photograph of, say, something like this, the sky, right? And you want to select the area around this. So I would go to 150 and select this area here, the sky. And you notice that it selects all of the background, which has a similar color, but it stops at the branch, at the tree. However, it does go in and select other areas like this line, which probably it deemed this pink line similar enough or within its range of 150 tolerance. Yeah, so it's a great tool for selecting large areas that are connected uh, with the same color, all right, or similar color. Okay, so that's the magic wand tool. Now, next, transformations and also modifications. These are two things that I will do at the same time. So let's just say you've selected a square. Let's say you have a object that is, I would use this roof again. Let's just say you only know how to use a square. You don't know how to use the polygonal lasso tool, all right, to select it. So you've created a square and you want to modify the shape. Or maybe we want to select this door, right? What you could do is you could go to select, modify, transform selection, and actually change the shape of your selection. All right, so you can do that, and then you get the door, right? Copy, paste, so you get the door. All right. You might be wondering, when would you ever use such a thing? You might, because for example, if you have a shape like this door, or you have an odd looking for instance, you wanted to create like a shadow area in this branch, right? So if I were you, I would use a magic wand tool, which we now know how to use. Tolerance 150. I hope it selects, or it selects way more than that. Let's change it to 60. Okay, we might have to go a few times to select this tree. It went ahead and select the other areas as well. So let's omit that. I would use Lasso Tool and just omit it. Now, how to omit is you hold down the alternate key. All right, hold down your alternate key and just remove it away. And so I'm gonna select this area as well, all of the branches. Okay, so I've got this shape now. I want to only darken or I want to probably lighten the area in the center, I could go ahead and select transform selection, shrink the size down. See, that's one reason why you might want to use this transform selection, and move it to one side, and then double click it to release. Okay, then I use a brush to lighten or color dodge it. Okay, increase. So you've got one area that's lightened, right? But let's say, okay, now this has a very harsh edge. Now you can modify the selection by going to select, modify, yeah, feather. All right, you can feather the edge. You want a softer edge by, let's say, 20 pixels. Okay, and you do that now. You notice that, oh, now it has a nice edge. You can't even see the outline of your selection. Okay, so this is a great way to do highlights and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, so I will demonstrate again at another place. Let's go back. All right, so let's select this area here, go to your layer, and this is without feather. Okay, and you've done this, but some of you might ask, like, oh, you made a selection, why don't you just use this feather here? Well, sometimes you made a selection and you didn't know you want to feather, or you want to have a bit more control. You can still do it here. All right, so for what Photoshop does, it always gives you options of actually changing your selection, and you can even do things like expand, contract. What does expand and contract do? It is great for example, let's go back a little bit to the default. Okay, I'm going to use the selection a magic wand, and I will try and select the branches. Okay, so I'm going to select the branches. Now, I'm going to copy and paste and fill the background with a different color. All right, now, so, oops, yeah, correct. Now, I'm just going to ignore the rest of the parts. I'm going to just concentrate on these branches here. Now, you notice that when I selected with my magic wand tool, I selected the purple branches. What it did is it also selected some pixels which were in the green area. Yeah, because we're not dealing with Illustrator, we are dealing with Photoshop. So therefore, it's all pixels. Therefore, there will be some colors that have either green or some reds inside. It will get selected. Now, what I want to do is delete and leave only the purple branch. So that's where the expand and contract tool comes into use. It's pretty handy. You hold down your control key, select this area, right? You hold down your control key and you click on the area next to your layer 8, right? And I go to select, modify. I will want to contract it, yeah, because now the area that's selected is the inside of the branch. Select, modify, contract. Let's say by 1 pixel, just one, because you need it to go in 1 pixel. Press OK, and you notice that, yeah, you see it went in before, after, before, after. Then what you're going to do is you're going to inverse selection, meaning now you're going to select, because you want to delete the outside. You can't just press delete right now because it will just delete the inside of the branch. You want to delete the outside. Control Shift I. Control Shift I, and then you delete. And what you'll have is a nice clean purple branch. But of course, the branch would have shrunk by 1 pixel inwards, but you would have a cleaner branch. All right. Now this is great for example, if you have a line drawing that you've done on paper, you've scanned it in, and this, for example, is your black ink, and you would have some white pixels sticking at the edge, and you want to clean those up. So that's very good for this, what you call this, contract and expand selection is very good for cleaning up those little things. Yeah. Okay, so we've covered, let's go back to our list, transformations and modification, and last two. Now, color range. This is one interesting one. Let's delete all this other unnecessary stuff. Let's go back to this image. Now, let's just say I want to change the color of all things green in this image, or rather I want to change the, 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 the color of the leaves in this image. All right, so I'm going to go to select. Notice there's a color range here. All right, so I'm going to click on color range, and it will come up with a color picker. What this color picker does allows me to pick which color I want to exclusively select. Okay, so I'm going to pick, for example, this lime green here. You will notice that this black area now shows a few white pixels. It means that, okay, in this whole image, what Photoshop will do is it will select only these areas here because it's got a green that is similar to this. So in order to increase the amount of green that's going to be selected, you need to increase it like that. And you'll notice that more and more areas get selected, including the bottom trees as well. So it reads image wide. That means the entire image. All right. So if you increase some more, then you'll notice that, oh, it selects all this area except the sky. This is the max it will go. All right. You select OK, press OK, and all of that gets selected. Now you might say, oh, I don't want the house or anything on the bottom. I just want this, the leaves. Fine. Go and pick your lasso tool. Hold down your alternate key because you want to omit those areas on the bottom. So I'm just going to omit everything down here. I'm going to omit this ground. I'm going to omit the house as well. And voila, all you have selected now are the leaves in the tree, right? And you go to image and you want to change the color. You can change the hue and saturation to, I don't know, probably you want to make it like autumn. So, well, it's a tropical rainforest, so it wouldn't have autumn, but you want to change it to something different, you can. All right. So yeah, so we've covered a lot of these tools, and basically like I said, I hope by demonstrating all the different tools, you understand what I mean by different tools for different images. So it really doesn't, there is no one tool that does it fastest for you. You have to strategize how to use different selection tools to pick what you want. You have to look at the image, analyze what you are picking out from this image, and think about what tools you want to use. All right. For example, would I recommend using a magic wand tool to select the leaves? Maybe it could work. Depends on how rajin you are, or how hardworking you are to pick up all the different colors. Or you could use, I would have used the color range tool. So it's a lot of experimentation. Okay. Now, the final one thing I want to show you is the saving and loading. So let's say you've made a selection. You know, selecting images from a flat image like this painting or a photograph, usually that's what selection tools are great to be used for. Let's say you painstakingly went around this image and picked up all this stuff, and let's say you didn't know how to use the color range tool to select this image, and you had a long 1 hour picking it up, and you don't want this selection to go to waste, right? Because if you control D and deselect it, that's it. You've lost all your hard work selecting this, and if you want to make changes to this tree branch, you have to go select everything again. Well, you don't need to, because there is a way to save selections. So let's say you go to select, you go and say save selection, and call this tree leaves. All right, press OK. So once you've done that, all right, and then you can go ahead and do whatever stuff you want, and come back to, for example, you've started painting the house and all the trees and then the background, and you realize, oh, I want to change the color of the leaves right now, and you want to select the leaves again, right? So you wouldn't want to go through the whole process of selecting again. You go to select, you load selection, and you have the tree leaves here, press OK, and the selection will be loaded again. All right. So let's say you are painting a character with the armor and you've done the selection for specific parts of the armor that you want shiny. You can load it again and add more shininess to it and stuff like that. Okay. So there's a way to actually save and load selections that you've painstakingly done as well. All right. So that concludes our video for selection. I do recommend that for my students that you try and find any image on Instagram or even on Pinterest, which offers better images, and try all these selection tools out. All right, you will not be able, like I said, it's going to be impossible to find the fastest way to select with just one tool. As you can see, even selecting this tree leaves here required me to use the color range and then also omitting it with the lasso tool. So it's a lot of different tools. Okay, so for more videos on illustration methods using Photoshop and Illustrator, and also motion graphics with Adobe After Effects, please click the subscribe button. All right, do follow me here on YouTube. Also, do follow me on Instagram. I have an Instagram account at eugenosaurus.fu. I also have a Facebook page by the same name. Both links are in the description below. I'll see you soon again. In case you're interested to know more about Adobe Photoshop basics, you might be interested in the basics of brushes video, or you can choose to move on to learn more about transparencies or blending modes for digital painting.